Hey, fellow therapists. If you're anything like me, you are trying your best to make a difference in your clients' lives, and there are barriers getting in the way. Barriers like insurance, like counseling across state lines, like conversion therapies, like all these problematic issues that we have in our field. Come with me on my journey to become an advocate at the legislative level for counselors and our clients. So that's what's been on my mind lately. That's what I'm trying to do. It started, well, it's been building for a while, but it really started at the Pennsylvania Counseling Association's conference this past year. The Government Relations Committee took the keynote address spot, and they teamed up with a lobbyist, a professional lobbyist, and they talked about what advocacy looks like at the government level. I was really inspired. I've also been really angry about these issues that are affecting me and my team and my clients for years, right? So I joined the Government Relations Committee. And when I did that, I had no idea what was in store for me or what to expect. And I'm still pretty green on all of this. So you're going to come along over the next couple of months and maybe longer while I tackle this. So when I first joined the committee, they told me that I had to put my money where my mouth is and actually contact my representatives in my district and schedule a meeting. I'm an introvert. I do love being with people, but I prefer the one-on-one level. I prefer the therapy room. This idea of just cold calling my representatives and saying, hey, we need to talk, that scared me a little bit. But I understood why the committee said I needed to do that. Really, if we're going to make a difference, we have to build relationships with our representatives, right? That's really going to be the only way to get the bills that we want passed, to get them on the floor, let alone passed. So I did. It started, the first step, if you're thinking about doing something like this, you have to go online and put your address into, I can share the website. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but there's a website you can go to find out who is your representative in your district. So I did that. There's 3 people that I really want to be connected with, and then I just went to each of their websites and found the email or the contact form and said, hey, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I am a voter in your district, and I'm representing my association, the Pennsylvania Counseling Association. I'd love to chat with you about some important issues around mental health. And they said yes. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting to be ignored, right? Unless you're donating money, do they really want to talk to you? And I'm not donating money. But no, they said, yeah, of course, you're my constituent. Come on in and let's chat. So then the anxiety went up. I started to get really tense. I started Googling. I was on ChatGPT, like, what do I say to my representative? And then I took a deep breath and I went back to the committee. And I said, okay, the meetings are scheduled. What next? What are my talking points? What's my call to action? What's the most important thing with this little bit of time that I have with this politician? What's the biggest, most powerful thing that I could be doing with that time? And they connected me with someone who is a therapist and is part of the Government Relations Committee, and interestingly has also been in office before, has been an elected official. So it was so valuable to chat with her and to find out, well, what are these meetings typically like? What is the elected official expecting? And she said, look, these are just humans. These are just people. They're expecting you to come in, talk about what matters to you, talk about what you're knowledgeable in, let them know how they can help, and that's it. If they can, they will. And she broke it down to me by saying, these are folks that need to be able to pass bills that are meaningful for their constituents, but they can't be expected to be experts in every single issue, right? Issues around counseling and mental health, issues around medicine and physiological health, issues around trash collection or preserving park spaces, open space, whatever. There's so many issues, and they can't be experts at everything. So they're counting on folks like us who know what's happening, boots to the ground. We're out in the field working with folks who have mental health concerns, working with insurance companies to get claims paid, working with our communities. And we can then come back and say, here's what's happening. Here's what matters to your constituents. Really long wait lists, or clinicians not being in network with their insurance, or I don't know, what are some of the other big issues? Insurance is not paying claims, right? That's a huge issue. So I wanted to be really sensitive to my representative's time, and I really wanted to make sure that we were walking out of there with a very clear call to action. So I went back to the Pennsylvania Counseling Association website and I looked, what are the bills that my association has been pushing for? Let's start there, because the work has already, the ball has already been rolling, like so much work has already been put into it. Why start fresh, from scratch with something else when there's already these big issues are already there? And there were two that were particularly important to me. One is the Interstate Counseling Compact, and the other has to do with insurance, best practices and predatory practices around insurance companies. So I just pulled those two up, and I walked into the office with that information in my back pocket, and I sat down and I told my story. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I own a practice in your district. I have a team of 9 people who work with me. I have over, 200 clients getting services at my practice, and here are the issues that matter. Why does the counseling compact matter? Well, imagine that your college student, your son or daughter is getting ready to go off to college, and all of a sudden they can't see their therapist anymore because they're going across state lines. Well, if we had a counseling compact and your son or daughter's counselor could actually practice in that other state, then they could do telehealth, and wouldn't that be amazing? That's just one tiny example of why the counseling compact matters. It's a workforce issue, it's a waitlist issue, it's an issue. But we talked about that, and I explained that the counseling compact has already a bill that's been written and sponsored, which is great, that's what we want. And so, you could either consider co-sponsoring it or, just vote for it when it comes up. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. He was such a lovely person to chat with, and it really was not as deep as I was making it. It was just a person who wanted to hear about these issues. And he got right on board with the problems around insurance. I mean, he fully understood when we started talking about that issue. It is a bigger issue that does not have a clear answer, but he did direct me to the person who has a little bit more power, the person who's on the insurance committee, the chair of the insurance committee. And now I know what to do next. I have my next steps, and he has his next steps. So being an advocate at the government level, it's not as scary as I was making it out to be, as I initially thought it would be. And so what I went back and said to my association was like, hey, maybe we could create some kind of mentorship model where if folks want to be advocates, they want to start being more active at the civil level, maybe we could provide that kind of hand holding until they're ready to go off and do it on their own. Maybe we can just team up with each other and do this together, and then we'll get more numbers, more people standing up and saying to our representatives, hey, mental health matters, and here's some legislation that we really need passed to encourage mental health care. So that's where I am with it. There's so much more that needs to be done now, not just by me, by everyone. And I hope you'll come along with me on this journey. And if you are interested in being an advocate, let's make it happen.